What does it take to become an astronaut? Keep watching to learn a few things about astronaut training. Zeno says this mission is a different beast than those of the 21st century. But let's compare astronaut training of the Stone World to how astronauts actually train today. We have a pilot, scientist, and warrior, but modern astronauts also have different roles. One of them is, in fact, a pilot astronaut. And after reading this, I think Ryusui would have made a good pilot astronaut even in the modern world. During flights, commanders are responsible for the vehicle, the crew, mission success, and safety, duties analogous to those of the captain of a ship. That's a commander, but also in the pilot category. Other types of astronauts include mission specialists, who keep track of activities and supplies. They're astronauts who are assigned to the mission that's fitting for them when they're needed. And then payload specialists, who are instead nominated by a company or organization who is sponsoring some research or something carried on the mission. Qualifications to be an astronaut can vary a little depending on their role and have changed or adjusted over time, but their height must be between around 60 inches to 76 inches or 152 to 193 centimeters. Can you find the ones who would be disqualified based on their height? Tsukasa, you're out. Chelsea, you're out. Suika, you grew up, but you're still tiny, so you're out. Other qualifications are nothing unexpected. Must be physically healthy, pass interviews, be fluent in English, have a degree in engineering or science, plus some experience in that field of science. In the Stone World, the astronaut selection so far includes the closed swimming test, concentration trial, equilibrium test, and jumping test. I'm sorry, I think the jumping test is a little silly. And I think it's kind of lame that was the test that sparked Tsukasa to change his mind. But anyway, in the modern world, you are selected based on the qualifications, and then you go into training. After years of training, with hundreds of people involved, instead of just Nikki yelling at you, then you can be selected for a mission if the training is successful, and they have skills and experience related to the mission. Modern astronaut training has also changed over time and depends on the mission, but in modern astronaut training, there is in fact a clothed swimming test. After plenty of training, they must be able to swim 75 meters in a flight suit with shoes on. They also do training underwater with their full spacesuit, but that's not the swimming test. The closed swimming training is more for emergency landing rescue procedures. Instead of a concentration trial, they're put through various psychological tests. The daily full-time training itself is mentally draining and stressful, so these tests ensure that they're learning to keep calm, can handle the stresses of the mission, and they can be a reliable member of their team. The equilibrium test. The purpose of this test is to simulate a disaster in space where the vehicle is spinning out of control. When this happens, you're extremely disoriented, blood is going to your head and your feet at high G-forces, and this tolerance is something that's different for every person. And it might not see much improvement even with training. You either have it or you don't. The famous centrifuge is more specific to jet pilots, while a gyroscope better simulates the movement of the space capsule. And maybe astronauts do high jumps when they're working out or something, but it's not part of their selection. But they would be trained to be able to carefully controlled jumping, just like they do on the moon to get around. There's plenty more astronauts must be trained to do. Every day, they're working out, practicing, studying, learning Russian, learning to fly a fighter jet. Yep. They go through a lot to be able to go to space. In Dr. Stone, we have plenty of people who have superhuman skills because of their former lives, but astronaut training really builds you up to some of the highest capabilities of any human on Earth. And then anti-gravity training. It's a big part of astronaut training. This happens in a few places, including the famous Vomit Comet, a plane that climbs and dives thousands of feet up and down for 30 seconds of weightlessness in each round. You can experience this for yourself if you have about $10,000 laying around. If you've ever played air hockey, you probably have an idea of how that puck moves without any friction on the table that's blowing air. Anti-gravity training also happens on what's called an air-bearing floor, which is basically a giant air hockey table. And then there is the big diving pool. Astronauts train in their spacesuits underwater and practice working on equipment, and it can be quite a struggle. And there's plenty of other ways astronauts do simulations and rehearsals, practicing procedures with replicas or computer simulations. And then when it's closer to launch date, it's more like they're following a script. By the way, check out this article that just came out this week. Japan is hiring astronauts for the first time in 13 years. They have a plan for their own moon mission, a space station that orbits the moon. They've also relaxed the requirement for the very test that Byakuya failed. Well, that's all I have for you in this quick run through about astronaut training to go with the astronaut selection trials in Dr. Stone. We'll continue to try to cover science stuff that you see in new chapters in addition to the review videos, which is why it's a good idea to subscribe and you won't miss them, along with other videos about Dr. Stone that are in the works. Feel free to comment with any particular science topics you'd like us to cover. I'm really interested to know what the fans are curious about. But thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.